Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Friday night, 7 o'clock, the Rabble Network. It's the Friday Night Rabble on YouTube. I'm joined tonight with a stellar cast. Any of the members that are in the chat, I see Janet's in there, Mark's in there. Would have probably seen Fergie last night, made a stellar debut in the member show last night. Fergie, thanks for answering the cry when we were a bit short of bodies tonight when Connor decided he'd better things to do. So, how are you tonight, my man?
I'm good, thank you very much. Yeah, it was good last night. So, like I say, the call went out, and I'm happy to come in and talk Rangers. So, good. Hello everybody.
And the man who said, I'm quite happy to come on, but I ain't fucking hosting. Kenny, how are you?
Me? Do you know me, the man that went to come on and then a fun out of hosting and kidded on at the flu? Is that the same guy?
That's the same guy. The same guy.
Doing well, mate, doing well.
Right. And from deepest, darkest South Englandshire, Mark, how's things?
I am all right, mate. Sweating my backside off. It's really hot down here, but otherwise I'm happy and good to go. What about yourself?
I am okay, mate. Thanks. Okay, a bit of a stressful, busy day at work for a change, but it was just sorry. Good to go. Good to talk about the Rangers. Usual caveat when I'm in the big chair, guys. There might not be a lot of comments flying about because I'm an old guy and I can't read and talk at the same time. So let's just put that out there right now. But there's lots and lots of the usual suspects in the chat already. Dorian, it's always a pleasure. The Catalyst, new member. I think that's maybe an upgrade of a membership. Catalyst, thanks, welcome along. Thanks very much for that. I'm sure you've been here before. John Scott, Blue Teddy Bear. I know Ian T's in there as well. He went through before I started popping names up. So welcome along, everybody. There's Jim Perry from sunny Chesterfield. If what Mark was telling us about his neck of the woods, if it's anything like that in Chesterfield, Jim, you'll be sweating your bits off as well. Because by all accounts, it's rather warm in England. It was nice and warm in Scotland today. It was a bit dull and misty. It wasn't particularly sunny, but it was. And Martin, evening troops, and I'll answer this straight off the bat. Wolf is a women's rabble on Monday. Yep, the women's show is back on Monday at 6:30. After the game against Middlesbrough on Sunday, because for those that don't know, Middlesbrough is a double header this week. The men have got the Middlesbrough men's team tomorrow at Ibrox. The women play the women's Middlesbrough team at Broadwood on Sunday. So yeah, the women's show will be back on Monday night, as I say, 6:30. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. That's the advertising done. Don't forget, like, subscribe, hit that button if you want to become a member. The link's in the description. You got a few member shows. You've seen Fergie's debut last night if you've already got your membership. Loads and loads of member stuff, wrestling, all that sort of good stuff, as Martin would say. So, where do we start? Kenny, I'll come to you first because you can probably pronounce the guy's name. The manager's actually been out talking about a transfer target, which is something he doesn't often do, or he hasn't often done since he came in. And it's a transfer target in a position that we really, really need strengthening. And it's Jesurun Sakyi from Crystal Palace.
Yeah, I'm glad you said Sakyi because I was going to say that and then somebody probably said it was a Japanese shot. So I thought to myself, right, I better get this right. Listen, I've done a fair bit of due diligence in this boy, and he's the real deal. The boy, he's comfy in either foot. He likes to drag players in and then quick feet move out the road. So you're either getting a foul or he's completely gone. It's one, I think, if we do get him, we're getting him at the right time. So all the wee mistakes and all the wee things as you do, and you're very, very young. He seems that Sheffield United, he seemed to get rid of, and he's starting to do more direct stuff. So I think it's still quite a way off. I think maybe they're looking for a lot better deal than we're willing to give them. However, he has come out and said that the scouting network himself, the director of football, all these people have been looking at him and actually all agreeing, he says, which was very rare, that this is definitely one we want to get a hold of. And being a right winger, Wolf, that's, you know what I mean, we're screaming for a right winger. I've said that 100 times in different posts. We've no had an out-and-out right winger apart from Daniel Candeias away there years ago. So I'm really interested to see if we can get a hold of this boy.
Right, and Mark, there's John Moffat in the chat saying he doesn't see us getting him. I'm similar thinking of John. I mean, if Palace are rating him at 10 million, it was reported that we offered to take him on loan. If he's not, I mean, he's been out on loan. He was at Charlton in 22-23, but he played 43 times. And then last season he was at Sheffield United, where he played most of their league games. If Palace are looking to get rid of the guy, surely they're not going to give him to us on loan if there's other teams, as reported, willing to give them upwards of 8, 9, 10 million for him?
Well, I think it depends, because the loan's got an obligation or something to buy. Well, with a paper talk, it's an obligation to buy for the loan between 8 and 10 million. I think it's doable, but obviously if they get an offer from somebody down south that's willing to give him the cash straight up, then I think he's going to go there. But the fact Russell Martin's talking about the player and saying the recruitment department likes the player as well and that we're keen on him, it's kind of, I see there's definitely can the deal be done? I think it can. We might need a little tweak of the numbers, but if it's a loan with an obligation to buy, I think they'll be more happy to do that, because obviously then you've got that we're going to buy him at the end of it and there's no getting out of it. So I think it depends on wage as well, how much we're willing to put in, if you're going to cover his entire wage on the loan and stuff. But I like the look of the guy. He scored, 22 goals in 96 games, and he's only, 22. So I like the sound of it. And it's like you were saying about Daniel Candeas being the last right mid we need a replacement. That's far too long to be gone. I mean, he's 22, so if we have him for 3 years, sell him on for a profit, then it's a win-win, isn't it? So I hope we do get the deal over the line, but like you say, it's touch and go. Depends on if anybody else is interested. So
yeah, Fergie, there's Nelly Maxine. He disagrees with an obligation to buy. Rather, it was optional. I don't think if we're in for this guy, and if we do get him on loan, I don't think we'll have the choice. We'll probably have to take an obligation. It concerns me a little bit because, as I say, Fergie, the last obligation we had was a player who's now ours. The club still haven't officially said he's ours yet, because they've announced everybody else, and we still don't know that Oscar Cortez is in the building. So the obligation can come back and bite you in the arse.
I think it's a funny situation. No contracts with football these days are so much. Like, it's just to make your head spin, like performance-related bonuses. And I think what the quote was from the guy, I can't remember his name, that reported this, it was a deal was rejected up to 10 million. And I mean, that can come down to a million different things. But I think the obligation to buy thing is, from the business side of it, is it that they're going, right, okay, our finances this season, this summer, whatever it is, can't take that, like swallow that price tag, but in a year's time, if we do this, or what we're projected to do, if they're doing it in projections, then a £10 million player next season is maybe the kind of marquee signing that we're looking for, and this is a way to get him in now. And it's a kind of juxtaposition there, because it's, if we can get him in now, does he make us that money to pay for himself? Do you know what I mean? So that obligation part of it is your kind of golden handshake or golden handcuffs. I mean, you could buy him and he could get injured, or he could do what Cortez done. And I mean, you're 10 million down before you've kicked the ball next season. Do you know what I mean? Or you get him now, you're not paid anything for him, but he gets you into the Champions League, and then he's paid for himself. So there's a lot of risk and reward going on with the transfer market at the moment. But I think if this is a boy that Russell Martin has tried to get, I think he tried to get him to Southampton or whatever. And like we just said, that he's kind of knocked out some of the kid stuff, and now he's matured a wee bit. It might be worth it. He might double his money in a year. So I still think we should go for Cherny back at that price, because we know what he can do. But we'll just have to see. It would be a big statement if they backed Martin so heavily, I think. So that's what I'll be looking at.
Kenny, I'll throw this back to you. You said you did a wee bit of a deep dive into him. AJ saying he missed a season with injury. He didn't even know what the injury was. I wondered why he was out on loan in 2022-23, then not out on loan the following season. So any ideas?
Hamstring. So he had a hamstring injury. I don't know how severe it was, or it was reoccurring, but I do know he was suffering for that for a good while. Again, you're going to get that with the type of player that they are, like high-paced, high velocity, stop-start, changing right foot, left foot. It doesn't seem affected him now. So, and that's been a long time. We've got to remember players will get injured, but it's how they respond when they come back. And since that injury, he's been a completely different player. He's took it to the next level. So I don't think that's a problem. It'd be different if we were doing the usual Rangers and looking for the players that were injured so we get a good cost on them. I think the days are gone. So it'd be interesting to see. Listen, 10 million, both Syrian. But again, if Igaman goes and the wee man, McCausland goes and stuff like that, and we get a few at the door. Is it impossible? Probably not. Would I like a play like that full time? You better believe it.
But Kenny, sorry, but do you think 10 million is that much now? If you think about it, I know we're still stuck in this kind of. I know it's Scottish football and our TV money dictates a lot of the finances, but I mean, this was the big Yankee Diddle Dandy came into town and we're all at with 9 billion in the bank, and every other team that I've seen that get the Saudis in, or look at Newcastle and all, like, they're spending money, so let's spend it.
What did we spend on Danilo? What did we spend on Danilo? What did we spend on players that never done it? And he's a guy that will make a difference in a game. The
money that the share issue that got is 20 million. We've not spent that yet. If Asgard was 5 and 2.5 for Gassama and 2, like, we're up to maybe about 10, and the rest are loans. And you think let's spend a bit of money if we've got it.
Still get players to go out as well, didn't we? Still get players to go out. So why not? Why not? A bit of quality.
I just don't think 10 million is.
I'll get to them, Kenny. I'll get to them. Don't worry. I've got a big list of them. That'll take us all night. So, Mark, talking about the Champions League, the way that I heard this reported for Raki Sakyi was it was going to be a possible obligation. Now, to me, I would read that as yes, if we get him on loan, we'll definitely buy him if we get Champions League money. Or does it mean that they're kind of thinking they're going to make a big sale? So either Igman's going to go for a lot of cash or Raskin's going to go for a lot of cash, and if and when that happens, then that'll be them. Half of that will go on Raki Sakyi. Is that maybe how that's coming about? Because it sounded a bit odd that it was reported in several places that I saw that it was going to be a potential obligation. I've never heard of a potential obligation before. It either is or it isn't.
No.
Mark?
I don't know. I don't know. It's one of them. I think we've got the money, so I think we can afford to get the player in, and then we don't actually have to sell. But I'm not 100% sure we're going to make that big sale. I don't hear any news until it happens. But I think we've got the money in the bank already to afford to get the guy, because you're not going to pay 10 million up front. It's going to be structured. All deals are structured now, so it's over 2-3 seasons. So I don't think it's going to be as massive an outlay as people think it is. If it was 10 million up front, then that's different. But it's going to be split over a couple of seasons. So I think I can see him coming in, or us spending that kind of money and no having to push players out to counterbalance that, if you know what I mean. I know we need to get some of the deadwood out, but I don't think we need to make a massive sale to facilitate a big signing. I think we've got that money, so I wouldn't say that both of them go hand in hand. I mean, it used to be back in the day that would be the thing, but I think we've got that money where we can afford to put the 10 million out over the 3 seasons, and it's not really going to have a massive impact because that's split over 3 budgets or 4 budgets, not one. So I think we can do it.
Yep, and we've had a super chatting from the poshest man that listens to the podcast. I don't know if you heard Charles on the members phone in the other morning. The poshest man on the planet. Charles, thanks very much for the super chat. Always great support from yourself. Evening troops, evening myself, Kenny, Mark, and Mr. Burns. So yeah, great to have you aboard again as always. And we've also got a thing in from Rab Weir. Evening lads, hope all is well. Still think we're 2 or 3 players short. Yep. Fergie, we'll throw this at you, but players need to leave before more come in. I would fear would be Raki Sakyi, Cody, and I think the ship sailed on Cody, to be honest, and Majowski possibly on loan if Dess or Igman go. As Mark just said, we don't necessarily need to get players to go to afford to bring players in. However, at the moment, the squad's massive, so we need to get some of these players out the building.
Oh, you're right. I mean, I think the lunch bill at Auchenhowie must be going through the roof because they've got 35, 40 guys to feed every day. I mean, there's too many players, and I don't know how one management team can deal with all that without causing rifts through the squad. We were talking about last night, like they'll know what position they're in, and it's, you're not going to play, but it is still early doors because we've got this Champions League qualifier and we're big game and all that, and we're back before everybody else. It's difficult because all these things can take time. I don't think they should take as long as they will. And I mean, I did hear somebody mention that why would a team sign a player now and have to pay their wages for the next 6 weeks or the next 4 weeks? Do you know what I mean? If you're going to sign somebody 25 grand a week, just sign them at the end of the window and you've saved yourself 25 grand. So the amount of players that are in the squad, I think they've been told, you need to look for another club. It's just trying to manage them just now while we've got important games rather than just a pre-season with these guys, and for that not to cause any disruption within, what the management are trying to do. They're trying to instill. I mean, are they invited into the tactics? Do you do that if the player's not going to be playing for you next season? Because if they're not playing for you, they could be playing against an opponent. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And are they going to go, oh, by the way, this is all the information and how they play? Do you know what I mean? So is that how it works? It must be difficult, but that ball needs to start rolling before we can start to get an actual look at what we're going forward with.
Yeah, I mean, Kenny, the gaffer's already said to me when we were down at St George's a couple of weeks ago. He'd already said that if they weren't at St George's, there was no real place for them in the squad. So, we should be actively looking to get rid of guys like Matondo, King, proper supposedly away anyway. Yilmaz is in the squad number taken off him, although he's got another one further down the pecking order now. He said Cifuentes can go, McCausland can go. I mean, as Fergie said, a lot of clubs are probably holding off just to save themselves a month's wages to pay these guys. There might be deals in the offing, but we really need to get rid of those. I mean, there's chat, we need to get rid of 10, 11 players. That sounds a lot. But when you consider the guys I've just named, they're nowhere near the first team, so it's not really that much to get rid of.
No for the outside looking in. I think the worry is very similar to Fergie said there. It's the contract situation, and do they want to do a Bobo Baldi scenario where they'll just sit about and take the money? Proper obviously wanted that payoff. We were willing to rip up Cifuentes' contract and all the rest of it. We need to start doing those things though. We're no far away for the start of the season at all, and things will start to look a bit hairy scary. Don't be wrong. There's, what did you say, 7 players there or something like that? Think about the wages saved on that if you're talking about the like of Sakyi and the money it would cost them to get in. And even if you go small amounts for 6 or 7 players, all of that could add up to the money coming off that deal. And then you've got the Iggerman deal, possibly. I mean, I was reading into the Goodison News and all that carry on, and they're saying that basically he's getting touted full throttle, him and that, is it Kubo? I don't know if he's a Japanese or Korean player. That's the 2 that they're after. So I would like to see at least 2 or 3 gone, just so that we start seeing a balance, so that we can start saying, right, okay, I think it looks as if he's wanting to keep Dowell. That's what it looks like to me, whether that's going to be a squad player or whatever. But I think the McCausland, that looks even closer today, they're saying, with the is it a separate mob that's in for him? So if there's proper away, McCausland ready, you've got to start issuing out, like, take it or leave it, to other clubs to get the rest of them out the door. Because unfortunately, for what I saw against Panathinaikos in the second half, you can see identities getting built there on a fast, hard-working, counter-attacking, the full-backs working in and out, inverted. They kind of players we're mentioning don't come into that at all. I don't think of that style with any of the players you mentioned there, Will. So the club must be working tirelessly, not just to bring other players in, but it must be difficult to get rid of these type of players or not, because everybody will know we don't want them. We know fine well what they'll try and do. They'll try and hold us to ransom for silly money for them. And I'm hoping that Rangers are a different club to say, but they're still worth X, Y, and Z. So I agree with you. I just think it's going to be difficult with the contract thing, and we proper asking for 12 grand extra to go. Is that going to become a domino effect, boys? I think probably.
Can I just make a point quickly, Ken? Think about it. Like, we were waiting to see what kind of money we get from what we qualify for in Europe. We're not the only club waiting for that to happen. Do you know what I mean? So the transfer market for clubs in our level, if you like, are doing the same thing. Is it going to be Champions League? Is it going to be Europa League? Where are we going before they start going, right, we need to sell that player, or we can now afford that player and let that player go? So the transfer market just now is simmering. It's getting nowhere near boiling point, because a lot of the clubs are in the same position as us, as they don't know what situation financially they're going to be in, as much as they will do in a couple of weeks' time. So maybe after the places for the European competitions are kind of set in stone, and these qualifiers are done, that's when it'll start moving. The big clubs that know where they are in the Champions League and stuff like that, they're not interested in doing transfers as rapidly as we are trying to rebuild a team. So we're kind of behind the 8 ball, but I think a lot of the other clubs that are fishing in the same pond as us are in the same boat. And maybe once we get past these qualifiers and the other teams do, things will start to manoeuvre a wee bit. That's what I think.
Yeah, Mark, that's a very good point that Fergie makes. I mean, not even get over these qualifiers. I mean, even get over next week, because we're currently in the second round qualification stage. So we know if we see off Panathinaikos and close this game out, we're guaranteed at least Europa League football. And you know roughly what that's going to bring you, as opposed to going into a Europa League qualifier and possibly end up the Conference League, and then worst case scenario ending out altogether. So even getting past Panathinaikos means we know that we're at this level of money, but we could still continue on the Champions League. So, and there's going to be loads of clubs in that. I never really thought of that. There's loads of clubs in that situation. You could, for example, have Panathinaikos waiting to buy somebody from wherever it is, and they go, well, if we can beat Rangers, we can afford to buy this guy. But if we don't, then we can't.
Yeah, the only thing I would put on that is that we couldn't wait until the playoff. If we get through and we get to the playoff of the Champions League and then we wait to win that, then you've got no time left to get players in. That's my only thinking that wouldn't be the case. I mean, we've probably got 2 budgets. We'll have 2 budgets, one for Europa League and one for the Champions League. But we can't sit on our hands and wait until that's been finalised, if you know what I mean. We can't wait until we've either got through the playoffs into the Champions League or we're in the Europa League. Because then you're giving yourself how much wiggle room is between. I don't even know when those games will be played. You're giving yourself minimal time to try and get players in. Do you know what I mean? So I think we'll still have a plan in place for now, and we should still be implementing that now. But obviously, Champions League will affect it a little bit. You could probably push out that little bit extra for a luxury player if we get through to the Champions League. But I think we've got a plan in place already. It will depend a little bit on those, because that will give you a few extra million to put on to maybe finalise one like marquee signing that you want if you get through to the Champions League. But I don't see us sitting on our hands waiting for that, the outcome of that, to then decide, all right, we're going to do this. There'll be a plan in place, if you get what I mean. That's kind of where I'm sitting on it.
Yep. Just to address this for me, Ian T. Can't believe I glossed over the comment of Mr. Burns. I know it was a Simpsons reference. I've never watched a minute of the Simpsons in my life, so you're asking the wrong guy to pick that up. I'm guessing it's.
I don't see the resemblance. No.
I mean, I think I've briefly seen it, and I don't see Mark look like the boy at all. But you know what I mean. So there you go. So anyway, Mark, I'll come back to you. There's another couple of comments here if I can just find them. There we go. Mark Dewey. We need a left back now. Aarons was uncomfortable on Tuesday night. Would you play Yefty in front of Aarons next week? Now that's interesting, because there was a school of thought that Aarons was playing at left back to shoehorn Tav into right back, but I think he played Aarons or whatever we're calling him at left back because he just doesn't. He clearly doesn't like Ridvan, as we said earlier, and he doesn't think Yefty's good enough for this level yet. So what do we do next week in against Panathinaikos? Do we stick with Max Aarons at left back? Do we find another solution, put him at right back? What do we do?
I think he's going to stick. I think he'll stick with Aarons at the left back, because clearly he likes Tav, and I don't think he's going to push Tav out until we get a replacement. I think if Ridvan goes, then we need to get a number 1 left back in with Yefty as a backup, and then Aarons can go to the right back with Tav as his backup, or he can push into centre back as and when required. I don't see that we can have Yefty as the number 1 option going forward. I don't think he's defensively, he's not good enough. He's good at going forward. He's probably better on the left wing, but he's obviously not going to get in there. So I think he needs to be an understudy to a proper first choice left back with a bit of quality behind him. So I think if we can get Ridvan out, then we're going to get a left back in, and then you'll see Aarons move over to the right back position. That's what I think. Martin's just doing square pegs for round holes right now until they can get the pieces into the puzzle, and then we can crack on from there. That's kind of how I'm seeing it just now. So I think he's probably going to stick for the Panathinaikos game, unless we get a left back in, which I don't see in the days leading up to that. So
we couldn't add it to the squad anyway, even if we did. So we're stuck with what we've got.
So it'll probably be this game out the way, and then try and get a first choice left back in. That's where I'm sitting on it. So.
Yeah, I mean, Kenny, there's Charles in with another super chat. I mean, the support the guy gives the channel's fabulous. He thinks a left back's more of a priority than a winger as well. I mean, having said that, I don't think I'd ever be looking at paying the sort of money for a left back that we're talking about possibly paying for Raki Sakyi. Although we do need a left back.
Yep. So I think the two positions are as important as each other, if I'm really honest with you. I think we definitely need an attacking midfielder that's going to cause problems, and we need a solid left back that does not give 10 and 15 yards to every right winger that comes down, which used to piss me right off. So when I used to watch Ridvan or Hefty when the other team was maybe attacking down our right-hand side or from the centre middle position, we left that right winger to move every time, and then when you could see the ball going to go that way, by the time Ridvan or Hefty had looked round, the boy was getting into our box and they were trying to close that. The one thing I'll say about Max Aarons is there was two incidences in the Panathinaikos game where the winger chose to go out wide to try and hide behind him and cut in, and he got into our box, but Aarons had already made the move. He'd looked over his shoulder, blocked it out, and remember the guy wanted a penalty. He just budged him off it and come away and played out for the back. If that was Hefty, honestly, I'm not so sure I'd be confident enough that he wouldn't keep an eye on his man the way Aarons did earlier. So I would rather a settled left back. Right, I remember watching Owen Beck. I remember watching him when he came to Dundee, mate, and I'm telling you, my father-in-law said the same to me when we were round at his bit, and he's crazy on football, junior football stats, professional stats, you name it, man. The guy's like an encyclopedia, a bit like you, Wolf. And he basically says to me, when a guy played for Dundee, he says, "Who the hell is this? This is a player, this, and what's he doing at Dundee, etc." So I'd rather listen. I'm not saying you pay $7 million for the guy, but what I would say was there's that type of ilk out there, and it's down to your scouting networks to go and find them. There's a comment there about we've paid money for duds. There'll be people out there that will buy our duds. You can flip the coin on that. There's really, really clever, good players out there in different leagues elsewhere. It's up to our scouts to go and find them at 2, 3, 4, 5 million. Right, it's all very well saying we're going to go and buy a £10 million player in Raki Sakyi, so we're going to buy a £7 million player in Beck, right? The words of is it Parat McGathy is in the back of my head in that interview up on the stage. It's sitting right at the back of my head, and I can't get rid of it. When he turns around and says, "We're going to tell all you lot you're getting 20 million, but are you getting 20 million? Don't know." So are we sitting here with this 20 million hat on, thinking, "Oh, we're nearly this 20 million. We keep mentioning it. He never once said that's all we're getting. He said that, well, if you don't tell folk that, they're going to price you out every single deal you try and do. What if that money's there and they'll maybe negotiate a deal with a £7 million deal with Raki Sakyi with 3 million in add-ons? What if Owen Beck gets 4 million up front and a 3 million add-on for so many appearances? We just actually don't know what we've got. Let's be really honest here. But I'll tell you now, you need to spend the money on a right winger and you need to spend the money on a left back. Whether that's Owen Beck or whether that's Raki Sakyi, the scouting has to have plan A, B, C and D. And judging by how they bought the club, how they're running the club, how they got the right people into the job and how the scouting's starting to go, I wouldn't be surprised if they've already got the answer to this. It's just trying to negotiate the deal for the right for Rangers and the other club we're buying them from.
Well, there's Alexander saying that Owen Beck saying a new deal today with Liverpool, so that would indicate he's probably going out on loan. So I mean, it wouldn't be the daftest thing in the world, Kenny, Fergie, if we actually went in and loaned them. But here's another point. Here's another point. Sorry, picking up on Kenny's point about our scouting. To me, Mark's point here just tells you that our scouting hasn't been great, because take it Rangers didn't fancy Penrice, 2 million left back from Hearts. Now, I've seen a little bit of Penrice, terrific player. We were never getting him from Hearts, right? We should have been in for him last season when he left Livingston, when he went to Hearts. He's only been a year at Hearts. They've made £2 million on a guy they got for nothing from Livingston. We should have been in for him. We can't allow that to happen again. We need to get a scouting team in who can pick up guys like that. We need to get away from the snobbery of young Scottish players aren't good enough for us, because there's Hearts made £2 million straight off the bat, having played the guy for a year, and they wouldn't have been paying him a lot of money.
I think the issue with that, Wolf, is, and you've seen it with our own academy projects, that say we do that, we would be buying him as backup. The fans would want somebody like Owen Beck or somebody like Max Aarons or Jeff. You know, these players, if we go, all right, he's a good prospect, a good young Scottish prospect, like spend the 2 million on him now, he's on the bench. Let's be honest. He's not coming in. Penrice wouldn't come into Rangers last season for 2 million quid and be our starter this season. There's no way. And the thing about Max Aarons playing out left and Tav being in the team, shoehorned and stuff like that, where's Jeffy? I've heard that Jeffy's struggling a bit with understanding the language and how much information's getting fired in. And I think that's got a lot to do with Russell Martin's signings. Everyone's like, oh, I saw the championship. It's just championship. He's only signing from one place. I think that's a lot to do with it. It's a lot of these young guys from 20 to 24 and the academies down south are, the way they communicate to young footballers now is all this tactics. That's what they want. They're all daft about FIFA and they're all about tactics. And that's the way that grassroots football has come up now. You know, since Pep was at Barcelona, that's football now. So he knows that he can communicate to these players in a way that they will understand and get excited about. Whereas, you know, a Brazilian that can't speak a word of English, trying to tell him how to play that. Now, that Max Aarons was a boy that he grew up with at Norwich, so he knows he can tell him something to do and he'll do it. And so it's really Tav that's keeping Jeff out of the team because he can understand what to do at that side. And Max Aarons can understand to do better than Jeff they can at the other side. So until we can get a left back in, which I think won't be until January, I think that's the way we're going to see it. Because to put the two best fullbacks that understand the system and the information that's getting given to them, it's going to be Tavernier, intelligent footballer, been there, you know, he knows it all. So he can take all that on board. And Aarons, he can fill in there and do the job, the mirror image for Martin and Gillies, Powell and stuff like that. So they two will do what's required of them and understand when they make mistakes and how to understand how to communicate that and analyse it. And whereas Jeff just says, you know, like, you know, look a wee bit lost for how much information they need to take on board just now. And I think that's why you'll see that unless we can bring in a left back in the next few weeks. But you can't replace the whole team. You can't replace the whole starting 11, which is probably the goal between now and, I don't know, summer. They can't do all that at once. So I think to get a team that can play with all the information taken on board, language barrier and English-rooted players that have grown up playing these kind of systems is why that's what we're shopping in. And that's why you'll see the players in the park that you do see is because they can take on the information the best.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think the language barrier was a thing anymore, Kenny, because apparently Danilo can speak about 300 languages and he's doing all the interpreting. So I didn't really think the language barrier was going to be an issue anymore. But Stephen Robertson, my good friend over in good old Australia, a fantastic super chat as always. Stephen, good to have you aboard as always. He says signings we've made look like they're already looking long term for player development and sales. But trusting Russell Martin recruitment to bring in these players like Rothwell who can handle the fight. And there was also another comment about the fact that, you know, the previous regime were looking in the Scottish market that the new guys don't appear to be. For me, Kenny, I think the reason that, you know, that Kevin Thelwell and his team are looking at, in England just now is because they're just in the door and that's the market that they're comfortable with. That's the market they know. You know, they don't need to do too much due diligence on the players they're looking at because they've been looking at them for years. You know, whereas if they go to Scandinavia, it's probably a market they've not looked into, or the Far East. That I think that will come the longer they're at the club. And maybe January we look kind of out with the English market. But right now they're signing players they know because we have to hit this ground running.
Aye. We trusted the process after about 18 months with Gerrard, didn't we? So we need to really calm down about who they're buying over, buying for the English League and all this rubbish because he won the league with it. I mean, he started buying players that he trusted himself and he was only, under-19s manager at Liverpool before he came. So I think with Russell Martin, he's seen a hell of a lot more than Gerrard did. He's been through a good few different leagues I really like Rothwell. I think he's the only player I've witnessed recycling the ball as good as Barry Ferguson did, and I'll tell you why. Twisting and turning 3 different times before he actually releases a pass confuses every player on that park in the opposition team, not just one. So when he does decide to release it, he's actually opened space up in 4 different positions, whether he wants to go left, right, centre, wherever he wants to go into diamond. I've not seen a player like that for a long, long time. And he always seems as if he's agitated when he gets the ball at his feet. So he makes people panic. And there's a few little gems he's brought in here. Your fella Fernandes, I know, another Rolls Royce player. Big Giga. Brilliant. I mean, he made a wee mistake with a wee slight pass back to the keeper. There was another one right after it. Rolls Royced it. And that's when you know you've got a decent mentality, because sometimes with Soapy, if he makes a mistake, he's thinking about it half an hour later, he'll make an hour 2. Whereas a really good player will make one mistake and go, oh, whatever, and just go on with it. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna trust the process. See where he buys, who he buys. Some of the players he's brought in, I think, are really, really good. I'm still a bit annoyed at the Mulligan scenario, because that was a bloody pest for us last year, an absolute nightmare of a player to play against. And I do believe there was always going to be an opening for Josh Doig, even now. And I don't understand why we haven't tried that one, because he is a really, really talented player at the back. I'm going to trust the process, Wolf. I'm not going to bother overthinking it, because we've been doing that for 13 years, nearly 12, 13 years. And we never had the board to back or do the right thing. And we never had the sporting directors that had the best interest for the football team at heart, ever, in that period. So I'll wait and see. But I do understand why he's going down that route, Wolf, because he's, as you say, tried, tested. But he seems to be going for these players that will play teams until 92, 93 minutes solid. They'll just keep coming at you, as we prove with the breakaway. Just a quick one on Aaron's, right? Did we see a flash of Aaron's at his natural right-back position? You've got to remember the counter-attack came from him stealing the ball, but also making the guy go to the shop after the move, and then played the pass out into the middle. So I would be interested to see, when we get a left-back in, does Aaron say to Tav, right, well, it's me and you now. And if that was the way I saw him defending, I know it was just a wee slight one, but it was him that collected the ball in his natural right-back position, sent the boy to the shop, and then started the counter. So couple of wee points there.
Yeah, there's Liam Moore in. It's great to have you back with us again, Liam. I'm sure you've been in the comments before. Rothwell turned up in the big games for us last season. Liam Moore's obviously a Leeds United fan. The reason I know he's been in it before, he's got the same name as a rugby league referee, and I referenced that the last time I saw his name in the comments. I thought it can't be that Liam Moore, because he's got to be a better individual than him. But let's just leave referees out of it, particularly the rugby league ones. And Ross Clark. Mark, he's making a comment. Can we please start calling the manager Russell? Absolutely, under no circumstances for me do you call a Rangers manager by his first name. No, absolutely not.
Definitely not.
I mean, to me, it should be Mr. Martin, but I'm finding that quite difficult. I find that quite difficult. I don't know why, but I just find that one quite difficult to say. So,
didn't we all call Gerrard Stevie G? I called him Stevie G.
I called him Mr. Gerrard.
Mr. Sir. Sir Gerrard.
Yeah.
It's and I mean, on the subject, I'm going to put my old man Rangers hat on here, Mark. Yeah. Going back to the first team coach, oblique manager, whatever you want to call him, on Tuesday night in the dugout. Did you have any problem with how he was dressed?
I don't know what he's playing at. It's like he had brown brogues on before the game, and then he changed into white soled trainers. I don't know. It's not my cup of tea.
It's fusion.
Too casual for me.
For me, it was too casual. I like the tradition of the manager wearing the shirt and tie in the dugout. And if he's one of these young hip trendy guys who just doesn't wear a suit and tie, that's fine. But he wore it before the game, and he wore it after the game, but not during the game. I just couldn't quite get my head around that.
Yeah, I think what he's maybe trying to do is, because there's this big hoo-ha about head coach, manager. He's our first head coach. He's not the manager, so but he kind of is the manager and he is the head coach. So maybe he's trying to kind of, fuse the two of them together and make his own way. And I tell you what, see if we win the league, who gives that? He's wearing, do you know what I mean? Let's put it that way.
Exactly what Cathy says here. Couldn't care what he wears as long as we win first before talking about his tradition. That's the thing as well. Talking about we were talking earlier about bringing in young players. nobody's going to give a monkeys if we've got a team full of academy players, Kenny, if we're lifting a league trophy at the end of the season. You know, if we've got eight Finlay Curtises and Kieran Wright in goal, nobody's going to give a monkeys if we've got no experience if we're lifting trophies.
It all takes away all the negativity, the inhibitions, the anger, the over dramatising comments. If you're sitting with a treble, as long as he's not wearing a dress, then he can wear it the hell he wants. The trophy cabinet's been sitting a little bit sugary for a number of years, so I'm happy. Listen, I like the fact that he's starting to throw some young bears into the teams that is saying, here you'll get a chance, because at the end of the day, some of the academy players thought, it doesn't really matter what I do. I'll go and warm the bench for the rules to stay in the team, just so the team plays, but I'll never get on that park. Now he's saying, here, Curtis, what was it about there's gentles, things like that, and saying, if you want to have it, come and take it. And as Barry Ferguson always said, because I've read his books, I'd heard a lot of stuff, he always said, I went into a dressing room saying, well, I'm here to take your spot, so at the end of the day, we're not here to be pals, we're here to see if I can get this spot off you. So if he opens the door to that, I mean, Curtis is grabbing it with both hands, isn't he? My God, he's like, right, okay, let's have it. I wouldn't care who he plays or what he plays, as long as the system works. We're at teams, we're no conceding, and we are either in a title fight or above the title fight. We're the top of the league, Christmas and beyond. So if that's happening for me, all good. Trust the process.
Right, Mark, there's I keep throwing Mark's comments at Mark. Sorry, it's getting too much use of the word Mark. Anyway, he says young Bailey Rice a good player. If John Suter doesn't want to sign a contract, sell him $2 million, bring in a centre half who'll win us a league. I was told at Hartlepool on Sunday that Bailey Rice has done himself no favours this pre-season. That was as much as I was told. I don't know what that means. So that's possibly why he's not in and about the team. They're maybe trying to sort him out. They maybe trying to move about what he does. I don't really know. The John Suter thing's interesting because he's got a year left. I think looking for $2 million for him is probably stretching it a bit. But would you take maybe $1.5 million to get Suter out of the building? And if you did, who would you replace him with?
Bailey first. I say Bailey needs to go on loan. He either needs to be sold or go on loan because he's not gonna progress. He's been stifled. You look at him and Lennon Miller. I think we've talked about it before. The trajectory for the two of them, because he's been stifled at Rangers and Lennon's been playing for Motherwell. They're both on different paths. I think we either need to loan the lad out or look at moving him on permanently.
Mark, sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but see, do you think Bailey Rice kind of blames Rangers a wee bit? Because Lennon Miller's his best pal. No, he blames Rangers a wee bit for that trajectory.
I don't think he can.
Should only be blaming himself.
That's what I'm going to say. I don't think he can blame Rangers for. He's been brought to the club. He's given the tools to perform, and he needs to show that. If he's not showing it in training, and then when he gets on the pitch, he's not showing it. There's nothing you can do. Do you know what I mean? It's one of them. But I see what you're saying. But no, I don't. If he does blame the club, I don't think he would blame the club. I think he probably just can't make that step up to Rangers. I just think it's too big for him. So he probably would have been better staying at Motherwell or going somewhere else. But
absolutely.
Suter, I would take $1.5 million, but then who are we going to replace? I want Cody to come in, but it just doesn't seem like it's happening. A bit of experience. That's what I'm looking for. We need a quality, experienced centre-back to play alongside the young lads that we brought in. I think we're missing. That's the thing we're missing right now, is a bit of experience.
Yeah, I mean, there's Kenny, I'll throw this one back to you. There's Stuart saying, what can we buy for $1.5 million? He's probably right. Makes no sense selling Suter for such a low price. The problem with Suter is he's injury prone and he's only got a year left in his contract. So I think $1.5 million would be lucky to get for Suter. Now, I'm on record, Kenny, is saying I wouldn't be too bothered if Suter was one of those players that ran his contract down and we lost him for nothing. Because he came in for nothing. We've had some decent service out of him and he will do his job. And as Stuart quite rightly points out, you're not going to buy anything for $1.5 million, are you?
No, you have to get that. When's that Goyd guy? Is it St Mirren?
Gogic.
They probably want $1.5 million for him. And John Suter's a Scottish international. Played how many games as Hearts for a captain? Now he plays centre back for Rangers in Champions League, Europa League games. I just don't get why people think. I know a final year of his contract, but surely he's better keeping him for £1.5 million. Because exactly like you say, Kenny, I mean, who are you getting for that?
Well, there's Ian Thompson answering the question.
Higaman!
Take the point away. Take the decimal point away.
So just sorry, Kenny, before I come back to you, just going back to the manager's attire. Yet another super chat from Charles Dalrymple. He says he can wear Pinder's panties as long as he's winning. I don't know what they are, but they sound something like football manager shouldn't be wearing. So maybe he's a little bit naive. I don't know what that is, but
it's his missus' drawers. That's what it is.
Oh, of course, Lucy Pinder's his missus. Of course, I'm sorry.
Ah, so it is, right. I thought it was a brand.
I'm not a celebrity kind of.
Well, I'm all over that. All over that. Yeah.
And there's Blue Devil asking a question. Now, I'm not sure if how many on the panel. Kenny will certainly remember it. The Blue Devil saying, you remember when Mo Johnson signed for Rangers? Ken, you remember that?
Wow. One word. I mean, that was nobody. It doesn't matter if you were the best guy at poker or any gambling, you're never seen that one turning in its head. And I think the only person that took great pleasure in that was Morris. Him and Souness, because that was unbelievable. And I think for a minute he wasn't safe in one half of Glasgow, then he wasn't safe in two sides of Glasgow, and then he was all right with the Blue Hoff. You know, it was. But by the way, we won out that. He was some player. And maybe he just woke up. Maybe he realised he was about to make the biggest mistake of his life, and thought, "Hold on here, I'm just about to wear green and white hoops. Nobody wants to do that."
No, and Mark, do you? I'm guessing you're not old. I'm not old. I'm guessing you're not old enough to remember when that happened. Or are you?
I obviously remember. I think it was after. When did he sign for us?
The 10th of July,
89. 88.
89, yep, 1989. 10th of July, 1989.
I was 2 then, so I remember seeing it after the fact, but no, I was 2 at that time, so I obviously don't have any recollection of that. But Kenny Miller's the one for me, obviously. Went to both sides. So.
But the Kenny Miller one for me, Mo Johnston, I'm okay with, because he played for them, saw the light and came to us.
Yeah.
Kenny Miller played for us and went to them. That's not acceptable.
I think
it's okay to play for them, see the light and come to us, but it's not acceptable, in my opinion, to go the other way.
I think Kenny Miller was the football version of a prostitute, because that's all he kept doing. He just followed the money everywhere, didn't he? He didn't care, no morals, as long as we were paying him and put him in the park. But I don't know, like I think the Cross City signings, I don't know how many there's been. There's probably been more than we would think.
Oh, there's been loads going back to the turn of the last century. There was loads and loads and loads. Obviously, they weren't reported the same. And there's Alexander coming out with, if I can get the comment, Alfie Cohn, obviously in 1977, coming back up from Spurs. The Catalyst got him as well. There you go. Alfie Cohn coming back up with Spurs. Incidentally, on the subject of Alfie Cohn, there's a cracking book came out earlier this year about Alfie Cohn. If you haven't read it, go and get it. If you want to hear about it, it's in the Rabble Archive. I did an interview with the author about it, so it's a good book. So a wee bit of advertising for that. But anyway, sorry, Ken. Fergie.
I know. I was just saying that. I mean, the Cross. I think there's a lot of players as well that have been in the youths. They've been at youths at Rangers, and then they went out and then ended up at Celtic. And it's like, who does his dad support and all this carry on? I think the Mo Johnson thing was just because he was such a good player, and I wasn't there. I was probably, what was it, 89, did you say? So I'd have been 6. But, you know, I know it was a big deal, but, I mean, didn't Gordon Marshall play for Rangers or something like that? I think there's been goalkeepers.
He came through the youth, but the thing with the Morris Johnson, I don't want to labour on the Morris Johnson thing too long, but the thing with the Morris Johnson, they'd already paraded him in a Celtic top, saying he was coming back, the Messiah was returning, and then all of a sudden he wasn't. It absolutely ended them. I mean, when it ended them so much that they still go on about it. I mean, when they signed Scott Allen, it was that was one in the eye to us because we didn't get him. We didn't fucking want Scott Allen, who by the way passed away.
Scott Brown,
by the way, made the best ever pass you've ever seen in your life when Hibs get beat 6-1 at Ibrox. But that pass was just something else. You know what I mean? That Scott Allen did. So, but to me, as I said, you can play for them and come to us. I'm not particularly happy about it, but at least they've seen sense. But you cannot go the other way. So
I agree with that.
Alfie Cohn. Nah, sorry. You know what I mean? And there's Mark in again with another comment, Kenny. Rangers had to sort out Paul Le Guin's. Rangers was linked with Kenny Miller. McLeish was next manager. Celtic stole him because Rangers took too long to sign him. In Kenny Miller's own words, everybody makes mistakes when they're young.
Well,
Say
I remember a very famous other Kenny who was sitting by the phone for just about a full week, if you listen to his story, waiting for that phone call to ring for the blue half instead of the green and white half, but wanted his move to the Premier League to join a very famous Liverpool, and it never came, and he knew the only way we got out if he done it, and he took it. It was Kenny Douglas, who was a big Rangers fan. Full families are Rangers fans, and signed for Celtic, but still likes Rangers. So, unfortunately, that's how things go. I don't blame anybody. Miller scored loads of goals against Celtic for us.
Aye.
You know, never kissed the badger. I always used to pull out and stuff like that. But he scored amazing goals for us. His work rate was second to none. I get it. It's no easy. I get it. But at the end of the day, if you're scoring goals and winning trophies for you and winning leagues and helping win leagues and all that, you know.
Mark, as Graham Souness once famously said, I'm a professional footballer. I play football for money. That's Kenny Miller's attitude to me.
Yep.
You know, I think that was probably Kenny Miller's attitude. I mean, there you go, Paul coming in saying, Paul, you told us you were in the pub and you couldn't hear us. You know what I mean? So you're telling me lies. Kenny Miller was a professional. 100% he was. 100% he was. You know, Mark, what's your thoughts on Kenny Miller?
Me, I couldn't date myself. Not a chance. I could not sign for that team. Not a hope in hell. No matter how much money you gave me. But I mean, if that's what they want to do, that's fine. As long as they produce the goods for us to have no fuss. You know, that's take on it basically.
There's Blue Devils saying Danny McGrain, who was Celtic captain in the 70s, was desperate to sign for Rangers. There's actually a story goes about Jock Stein made him Celtic captain. And the story goes, Kenny, that he made him the captain so that he shake the referee's hand and find out if he was a Mason or not.
Well, another one's Paul Lambert, isn't it? He's a notorious one for his full family with Rangers fans. So the list can go on here.
You don't need to go that far back, Callum McGregor.
I used to work with his brother at British Gas, and his brother's a big blue nose. And
Callum
Rangers tattoo in his thigh.
Scott Brown,
Callum McGregor fulfilled a lifelong ambition when he scored the winner for Rangers in an Old Firm game. But he was playing for Celtic at the time. You know what I mean? So,
look, Celtic, Rangers, Celtic. See if you didn't grow up dyed in the wool, you will never know what it would be like to play for. Like, I mean, look at Finlay Curtis, right? If Celtic offer Finlay Curtis, offer Rangers 10 million and offer him 60 grand a week, right? Every other player that never grew up as a Rangers supporter would just go, right? Sound, where's the bit of paper? You would hope that somebody like Finlay Curtis would maybe take a wee breath before he would do it, but would you blame him? So us as Rangers fans and, like, you know, diehards and whatever, you think, I could never put on the green and white and stuff like that, because, you know, our blood runs blue. But when we talk about other players that have played, you know, they've grew up in Wolverhampton or Burkina Faso or whatever, and they come and play for us, and then a couple of seasons later they go and play for another team in Scotland. It's, to them, it's another team in Scotland. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think Kenny Miller grew up a Rangers fan. Is he not a Tudor? Do you know what I mean? So
I always thought he was a Hibs fan, but he does say he was a Rangers fan as a kid. I don't know, but it's one of those things, though, guys. You know what I mean? We can all sit here and say I would never do that. We're not professional footballers. We're not trying to make our way in football. You know, we're not. I mean, Kenny, you know, you maybe do your job, and you know, you say that rival company would never work for them, and they come and say we'll give you double your money. You know what I mean? You wouldn't even think twice. You would just go. I mean, because you've got a family to look after, particularly in football, because it's a short career. So
yeah.
You know
if you're in Scotland, especially, right, and you're playing really, really well for whatever club, St Mirren, whatever. You're a Rangers fan, right? And they don't come in for you, but your ambition is to play for Chelsea, right? You're going to go to Celtic if they come in for you, because that's your stepping stone to get out of that league, and that's just the way it is.
I think that when our old manager Stevie G, Mr. Gerrard, you know the stories about Mourinho trying to get him into 3 different clubs, and that's what it's like here. What he went through, I would say, if you were looking at it from our point of view, is, you know, you bleed blue. He bled red. And I think he was told by his parents or whoever it was that if you go and sign for Chelsea, there's going to be repercussions for us as a family that live in this town, because it's so intense, football. It's so, that working class mentality. We have that here. So that's why we can't understand players playing for the other side. But in that situation, he never left Liverpool when he had the opportunity to play for Chelsea, who were winning leagues, Real Madrid, blah, 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 because he felt so ingrained in that club. So I think that's how we would look at it as fans. But players crossing that divide, you know, like you said about Mo Johnson, Kenny, is like he was popular on one side of the town and then unpopular on both sides of the town. That's the only thing. You wouldn't want to live in Glasgow if you'd played for both, I would say.
Anyway, I didn't really want to go right down that rabbit hole, but we've gone right down that rabbit hole. So I can't remember who asked the original question about Maurice Johnson, but thanks, it filled 10 minutes. So before we go, because we're rapidly running out of time, Mark, what's this game tomorrow against Middlesbrough? How do you think we're going to approach it? Do you think that the manager's going to go out and go strong in the first half with the team that might start in Athens, where it's going to be really, really warm? I said last night in the member show, I don't think anybody will get more than 45 minutes, given what we're coming up against midweek. So do you think he'll go with what you'd argue would probably be the starting team, or will he mix it all up, or how do you think he's going to play it?
Yeah, well, what he said today when I read that interview where he was talking about Raki Sakyi, that he said that he the team that's going to play on midweek 45, I think it was, and get the team that's close to the team that's going to start, give them a run out, and then second half get some players that need some game time and some minutes in the leg zone. So I think you're probably going to see first half will be close to it. We're going to go with in Europe in the midweek, and then second half it will be the fringe players getting a bit of game time. So hopefully it's more of the same, and we see a bit of progress like we did on the European game. I'm looking for a strong team to start. And then obviously once you've got the game put to bed, I know it's a friendly, but then change it at half time and get some fringe players get some action. That's what I think he's going to do, given his interview the day that he put out.
Kenny, does the result tomorrow actually matter? I mean, obviously we always want Rangers to win, but does the result actually matter tomorrow? Is it more about the players getting used to playing with each other in the system that the manager wants?
But both. I do believe a couple of comments there to Cassie as well. You've got to get Lyle Cameron on the part and get some minutes in his legs in case we need him with injuries or anything that comes up. You've got to get Cortez getting some minutes. All these type of players, Fernandez, etc., because it might be a long night and then you're just about to fall into the league and all the rest of it. So I agree with the two you are saying. You'll get close to what he's going to do very, very briefly, and then they'll have to change it in the second half to like the players that are sitting on the fringes ready to come in, like your Barons, your Camerons, left wing, Cortez, anything like that. Even, I mean, Dessers and Igaman really didn't get a full run as well, so you could probably see them messing about in between different substitutions as well, just to keep them fresh. And then I would possibly like to see more of Gassama, not crazy too much because he looked like a bit of a player, but they need to get him up to match fitness, so you'll probably see him at some point as well.
Yeah, right. I'm going to go back to you with this, Mark, because I mentioned this last night to Fergie in the member show. Do you think there's a possibility that in some positions we'll see players playing kind of half an hour each? So it's basically 3/3 of games, if you see what I mean, for like certain areas of the field.
I don't know what you got. I don't know what you get out of doing that though. Is the only thing I would say. I can probably see them splitting at 45 and 45, but I think 30 minutes. So like three sets of players for 30 minutes each. I don't know what benefit you'll get out of that doing it that way. I mean, that's probably standard pre-season. You would have done that, but because we've got such an important game, I think you probably need to go with your strongest for the 45. See what you go from there. Take them off so that they've got a bit of rest before we play in midweek and get their fringe players. That's what I would guess would make more sense. I mean, if we didn't have the Champions League games, I think that would be a fair shout to split it into 3 sets, but because we've got that important game, I think he's going to do it 45 and then 45, in my opinion.
I agree with you. I just thought, it's something I know that's been done in the past. It would be a tool to get more players, more game time. But as you say, Wednesday's so important.
Well, maybe one on that. Maybe you could do the 45 with the strongest team, and then the second half you could split that in 2, and then throw in as many players as you want. Maybe that could be an option, but I don't see the benefit of splitting it into 3 sets of 30 myself personally. I just think it's too important, the midweek game, that we need to put our best team out first.
And on that, we're going to call it a night, ladies and gentlemen. But before we go, yet another super chat from Charles. He's one absolute stellar gentleman, and he says Fergie needs to sign off the pod by saying release the hounds.
It's me that looks like Mr. Burns. I
don't see it. I don't see it myself, but yeah.
I don't even know what that's a reference to, but there you go.
I won't say release the hands, but there's a scene in The Simpsons that's probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. I know it's because I've got this massive 5 head. You should see how long it takes me to wash my face in the morning, man. But he's trying to batter into Marge, and Marge comes in his office, and he goes into his drawer and he waxes his head to make it shiny, and he tries to be cool and goes, "Hello, Marge," and he puts his hand in his head and it slips off and he cracks his head in the desk. So if it was a wider shot, I would do that for you, Charles, but I can't do any impersonations. But thanks very much.
Good man.
Fergie's taking the banter from the comments really, really well. You fit in absolutely fine. Anyway, another.
Somebody just said Claudia Caniggia. No, take that one.
Gary, I don't know if you watched last night, but none of you in the comments will beat the guy that called me Eggy Jovi. Just so.
Well, I had that one.
That will always be the best.
Siggy Pop. Another one, Siggy Pop.
We've had Seb Rosenthal tonight. We've had Claudio Caniggia. We've had the whole lot. Again, another rabbit hole I want to go down. So, as I say, that's it. Another Friday night out the way. Tomorrow we'll have all the usual match day stuff. There'll be a preview. There'll be a watch along. I'm assuming. I don't know for sure, but I'm sure Big Wursel will be all over a watch along. There'll be a post match. There'll be the Sunday supplement. I think. Monday night, I'm really excited. The women's show's back on Monday night at 6:30 because they're back in action on Sunday, as I said at the start of the show. So I'll certainly see you all back then. I'm not on the match day stuff tomorrow because I'll be at Ibrox. So Kenny, Mark, Fergie, thank you very much. Everybody in the comments, fantastic. All the super chats, particularly from Charles. Thanks very much as always, and we'll catch you later, guys.